This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. During tax season, your personal info travels to a lot of places. Between payroll, your tax consultant, and the IRS. If your W-2 gets exposed, that's just the ticket for identity thieves. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed or your money back. Don't let identity thieves take you for a ride. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Reclamation Podcast, where our goal is to help you reclaim good practices for following Jesus. If we haven't met yet, my name is Tony and I'm your host. With over a decade in the local church, I care deeply and passionately about helping you connect with Jesus in super practical ways. Now, this is the monologue episode, which we do every single week. And right now we're in a series all about Lent. So if you haven't gone back and listened to some of our Lenten episodes, it might be a good way to get caught up. But if you don't have time for that and you still want to dive into today's episode, I think you're going to love it. It's really perfect for anyone who's ever wondered about why giving is so important during Lent. If this conversation is helpful for you, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave a rating or review on iTunes or Spotify. And the highest compliment you can give us, share this episode with a friend. Maybe somebody you talk about giving with on a regular basis. That's right. Today, we're going to talk about almsgiving. Now, in the historical church, almsgiving is the term that is used for the practice of giving money or food to poor people, right? Think about the old church, right? I'm thinking about like Robin Hood with Kevin Costner. If you've ever seen that movie, Robin Hood plays this character where he goes, "Alms for the poor, my lady, alms for the poor." By the way, you're welcome for that British accent. I apologize if you are British, but the end result is the same. It's necessities, it's money, it's goods for those who are in need. So the term almsgiving is a part of the Christian culture. So why is almsgiving a part of Lent? So when you think about kind of the three kind of facets of Lent, you think about prayer, you think about fasting, and you think about almsgiving. Well, almsgiving is a huge part of our disciplines. I love the way that the Gospel of Matthew talks about this idea, right? And the 25th chapter, the sheep and goats, it reads like this. When the Son of Man comes in glory and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison or go to visit you?" The king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Now, that's Matthew 25, verse 31 through 40. So let's talk about this as it pertains to our Lenten practices. So remember, Lent is a season that's all about preparing our hearts for Easter, right? Lent is a liturgical season, meaning it's made up. It's a calendar. It's a disciple-making tool to help push us closer to Jesus. Almsgiving, or the giving of those who are in need, is a practice that the historical church has understood as just a way of Christian life. We see it in the Old Testament all over the place, right? In Isaiah, it talks about how this is Isaiah 58:10. And if you give yourself to be hungry and satisfy the desires of the afflicted, then your light will rise in darkness and your gloom will become like midday. Or when Psalms, it says, it is well with the man who is gracious and lends. He will maintain his cause in judgment, for he will never be shaken. The righteous will be remembered forever. He will not fear evil tidings. His heart is steadfast, trusting in the Lord.
Over the past several days, 3 females have been found dead.
Looks like someone's going after these girls.
Then they have to know to watch their backs.
Streaming March 13th.
You really want what happened to this one that happened to you?
Exactly why I need to keep going on this.
Starring Emmy Award winner Amanda Seyfried.
I'm worried about what you're gonna find.
So am I.
Long Bright River. A limited series. Streaming March 13th. Only on Peacock.
So you can kind of see, right, that in the Old Testament and again in Jesus's life, giving to the poor, giving to the needy, it wasn't a practice that was considered optional. Everyone gave. Everyone took care of one another. We see this again in Acts chapter 2, right? They shared possessions and they had everything in common, and that's how they lived life. Friends, we're called to be postured in that same kind of way, right? What are we doing for the least of these? And as we prepare to celebrate the hope that comes with Easter, we acknowledge that not everyone has that hope. And sometimes our circumstances is a large part of the reason why that hope doesn't feel attainable. So when you think about prayer, when you think about fasting, it's important to also think about almsgiving or meeting the needs of those in our community. We can't say that we believe in the God of the universe unless we're willing to respond like there's a God of the universe. What does that mean? It means that more than likely our hesitancy to give or to be intentional during the Lenten season is a direct result of our lack of faith or trust in the Lord, right? Because when we become dependent on the Lord for everything, it's easy to give away more and more and more. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes money can be a block in my life, right? How I'm spending it, how much do I have, how much do I not have? You've all been there. And yet, what's clear is that if I want to get closer to God, then I have to be willing to give up the things that I think I need to control. Right? The same is true with fasting. We're creating space. Prayer, we're creating space. When we give our money away, we're creating space. So sometimes we have to be intentional about our giving so that we can create space for the Lord to work. And Lent is a great practice of that. Generosity is built on the generosity that God first gave us. I love the way Matthew 25, verse 37, right? The righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we do these things? They go on the list. In verse 40, the king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers or sisters of mine, you did for me. Friends, the practice of almsgiving is an age-old tradition to remind us that we are all brothers and sisters in Christ. And as we prepare for the empty tomb, we turn our hearts and our resources to the hope that comes with Christ. I also want to just encourage you, right? If this is an area of your life that you haven't yet turned over to the Lord, I would challenge you to turn towards God with an abundant heart, right? We serve a God of abundance. Since Karen and I really committed to a tithing lifestyle, we have been so blessed in so many incredible ways. Are there seasons where it's hard? Absolutely. But everything worth doing is hard, right? There's no easy thing out there that's like, oh, that was amazing and life-changing, right? If you want to follow Jesus, you must be willing to move. I say it at the end of every podcast. And what that means for us as it pertains to our money is that as we look at what we give and how we show up, we should be challenged to do a little bit more. So this Lenten season, as you spend more time creating space for God, as you spend more time leaning in for what God has for you, open up your wallet and say, Lord, you are the God of my money, rather than saying money is my God. Friends, I hope this is challenging for you as it is for me as we continue to journey towards the cross and Easter. What a joyous celebration we will have together. I'm thankful for each and every one of you for the opportunity to connect. As a reminder, I would love to hear your feedback. You can follow me on Instagram at TWMilt, at TWMILT. You can also check out my website, reclamationpodcast.com, and there's tons of ways to get in contact with me there. I'm so thankful to have so many of you on the journey with me. I'm thankful for this community that we're building, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. And remember, if you want to follow Jesus, you must be willing to move.